Welcome today to the Ragdoll Masterclass. Thank you for coming. And what we're doing today, I did mention in the video earlier, you don't have, like, all the things working on, it won't necessarily just help your Ragdoll, it'll actually help many avenues of your pole repertoire. And also, if you're not quite up to Ragdolls, you can still benefit from everything that we're going to be doing here. So how it's going to look, we're going to start with just a general all over body mobilization, just kind of get everything warm and moving. And then we're going to kind of go top to bottom, just really working on the areas that are involved in the Ragdoll and really strengthening and working on the mobility through the different joints and muscle groups that we'll be using. Then at the end, we'll go over some drills and the technique for the Ragdoll itself. Okay, alrighty. So do you guys have a TheraBand? Perfect. So yes, there'll just be a couple of exercises that we do use a TheraBand for. I can always give options though if you don't. The open-ended ones are best for what we're doing. Perfect. Excellent. Wonderful. All right. Well, let's get on up, and like I said, we're just going to start with a bit of a mobilization. All right, so just getting through the body, because the whole body is involved in the Ragdoll. So we just want to make sure that everything's kind of warmed up and working before we get into everything a little bit deeper. Okay, so we're just going to start with some neck circles. All right, so just nice big head circles. So keep the shoulders pressed down away from your ears. Hands getting in the way. Beautiful. And reverse. Pressing those shoulders down away from your ears. Oh, feels so good. Beautiful. All right, we're going to take it into some shoulder circles, okay? So really making them as big and as exaggerated as you can. All right, that's it. Circling backwards. Squeeze the shoulder blades together at the back. I have this habit of just moving side to side when I do these. You don't have to do that. I don't know, it's part of my general warm-up. Good, and reversing the circle. Again, big exaggerated movement. Excellent. Beautiful. All right, now we're going to add a little squat as we take that into big circles, all right? So deep squat as we go. Big exaggerated movements. Again, try and make that circle as big as you can, but keep your ribs down so that we're not flaring the ribs as we go and using the back. Okay, so keep those ribs down. Squatting, and then we're going to reverse it. Ribs down, that's it. Really exaggerate the circle, really squeeze out into it. Good. Now hands together. And I'm just going to step back a bit so I'm in view a bit more, and we're going to do some big circles. So circling the hips, hands circling above your head. Okay, both going in the same direction. Oh, nice big exaggerated movements. Good, and reversing. Oh yeah. Good. Excellent. Take those hands wide. Now turn the toes out a little bit. We're going to be arching and hunching. So opening the chest, squatting down, arching back, squeezing the shoulder blades together as we get to the bottom. Curl over, drop the head, come up through a hunched back. And repeat. Open the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades together as we arch down, knees out to the sides. Roll over, come up through a hunched back. Beautiful. That's it. Keep pushing those knees out to the side as we go. Beautiful. Two more. And up. And one more. Beautiful. All right. Now what's going to happen, we're going to take our hands overhead. Now we're going to open our chest looking up to the ceiling, squeeze the shoulder blades together as the arms come down. Then we're going to lean forward, squeezing between the shoulder blades. Then at the bottom, think like you're doing a butterfly as you bring the hands over, so butterfly swim, and then come up through the hunched back again. All right, so let's do it again. Hands come up, open the chest, lead through the sternum as we come down, butterfly the hands over the top, and come up. Two more. Let's go. Hands up, open the chest, lead through the sternum as we come down, butterfly over the top, and stand up. One more, hands up, open wide, leading through the sternum, and roll over the top, and coming up, beautiful. Toes out again, we're going to keep our squats going, and this time we're going to add a little rotation, so the hands are rotating down and up, and down and up. Up. That's it. Palms to the ceiling, palms in. Beautiful. Good. Now we're going to hold it down, and we're going to straighten one leg at a time, side to side. There's hands on your hips for now. Beautiful. Now I want you to reach forward towards the bent leg. So towards the bent leg, reaching towards the forward corner. That's it. Give a nice straight back. All right. Looking up. Good. Now tapping down towards the toe. That's it. Getting as deep into this straight leg as you can. Sinking down as low as you can. Beautiful. Beautiful. Coming to the center with bent legs, and just give it a bit of a wiggle. As you're wiggling, slowly start to straighten the legs until they're both straight and you're just wiggling your bum. Beautiful. Bending and straightening. For those that don't have enough flexibility to reach the ground, you can grab a yoga block and place that underneath your hands. You want to really try and keep a straight back here, so rather than hunching, if you're finding you're hunching, reaching the floor, probably grab a yoga block actually. Grab a block, okay? So we don't want to be sort of hunched like this. So if you need to grab a block, you can, but we want to really try and straighten that back. Okay, because we're bending and straightening. Bending and straightening. Okay. Beautiful. And now we're going to turn the toes out, come across to a ninja lunge. That's a ninja lunge. Ideally, foot is flat on the floor, but if you can't quite reach there and you're up on the toe, that's okay. All right, what we're going to do then is we're going to rotate over into a lunge. Beautiful, and then we're going to rotate back. Rotate over again. Rotate back. One more time, rotate over. Rotate back. And change sides. Beautiful. Rotate over. Rotate back. Rotate over. Rotate back. One more time. Rotate over. Rotate back. Beautiful. Shifting up into the center again. Straighten the legs and coming up slowly. Alrighty. So that was just a bit of a gentle head to toe. We'll leave it at that because now we're going to get into the nitty gritty, and believe me, you'll get a lot warmer through the rest of these exercises. Grab a quick drink, okay, before we get into it. All right, and then grab your TheraBand. Beautiful. Okay. Alrighty, so we're going to start with working our shoulders. So when we're doing our ragdoll, there's actually quite a great deal of strain that's put through our shoulders, all right? So first of all, we've really got to be able to take the weight of our bodies as we're going through a move that has momentum behind it, but also when we come in front, your arm comes into like a hyperflexed position. So it's either in line with your head or in some instances actually behind your head. So it is quite a strenuous position for it to be in. So we're really going to spend a bit of time now just warming up the shoulders and also getting them like working through some strengthening exercises. Sorry, I'm like still puffed from the warm up. So some strengthening and mobilizing exercises to help assist us with the ragdoll. But before we start with that, we're just going to start with some neck stretches, mainly because I find so many people are so tight in these upper traps that their shoulders actually kind of sit a little bit up. So we just want to kind of try and help get rid of some of that tension so they sit in a more optimal position. So we're going to go ear towards our shoulder. Place your hand over the top of the opposite ear. And instead of just pushing straight down, think like you're trying to draw your fingers towards the crown of your head. So it's more of like a lengthening sensation. as opposed to just pushing straight down, okay? Now, if you want to make it a little bit harder with the free hand, think about walking it down your leg, okay? So it's really trying to reach towards the floor. And you should feel a really nice stretch through here. Like I said, the area where people tend to get quite tight. Okay, and I'm going to switch sides. Ear to shoulder, opposite hand over the ear. We'll think about elongating through the neck, so trying to draw your fingers towards your head and lengthening through the crown of your head, sorry. And then if you want to make it harder, walking the fingers of that free arm down the leg. Beautiful. And release. All right. Grabbing your TheraBand. All right, so we're just going to start with some circles forward and back. So I don't want you to go straight to like your most extreme, okay? So just start with a really gentle position where you can quite easily floss forwards and backwards without straining your shoulders, okay? We're just warming them up. We're not going to actually use this exercise too much as a flexibility trainer today. This is more just about warming them up. All right, so we're just going forward and back. Now try to keep your rib cage down, so don't flare it like this. Keep your ribs down so that you're not trying to cheat by using your back. Okay? And you can walk your hands in a little bit if it's too easy. But again, we're not going to take this quite to the extreme today. We're going to use some other exercises to target this area. It's just to help warm up and lubricate the joints. Okay, so ribs down. That's it. Forward and back. 3 more. And 2. And 1. Good. And lowering back down. Sorry. This up. Beautiful. All right. Now we're going to work on our external rotation. Reason being, when we come up to the pole in our ragdoll, we hold onto the pole, we actually want there to be a slight external rotation through our shoulder. And I will talk you through that on the pole a little bit more detailed later. But for now, we're just going to work on really warming that up. Okay? So, grab your TheraBand and holding onto it with the palms facing inwards. Now we want our elbows to be in close to your sides, but don't squeeze them in for dear life, okay? Just keep them underneath your shoulders. All right, holding the band so that your forearms are parallel to the floor. And from here, without letting the elbows move, so keeping the elbows still, we're going to rotate the forearms out to the sides and back. Some of you will be quite familiar with this exercise. Okay, and back. It's one that a lot of physios recommend. That's it. So out and in. And we're going to do 8 to 10 of these. Okay, that's it. Beautiful. Now I'm just going to go, I'll count to my 8, but everyone else, you'll come up 30 different times, that's okay. Beautiful. I've actually lost count. Beautiful. And hopefully, you want to ultimately feel it a little bit more towards the back of the shoulder rather than just on top, okay? So make sure that we're keeping everything in an optimal position. So don't be squeezing them too tight with your elbows, like don't hug into your side. All right, just have them underneath your shoulders. Okay, make sure that those palms are in and the elbows stay still as we rotate. Very good, that's it. And another little cue just for those that might be watching back. So I like to think like you've got laser beams right in the middle of your shoulders. And as you're doing these exercises, you're thinking about shooting your laser beams straight out to the sides of the room. Okay, so we're not shooting them forwards, we're shooting them out to the sides. Beautiful. Alrighty, good job. Now, the next exercise is still going to be working at external rotation, but in a different position, and we're going to be using the pole. Now, if you don't have a pole, you can anchor it to anything at home. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to wrap around the pole. Now, if you're using a pole, I'll show you down low to start with, and then I'll move it. It's best to go in the opposite direction first, then wrap it and come back, just so it kind of locks it off a little bit more, and you've got less chance of kind of letting it go and it's snapping. Okay, so now in terms of height, I'll just show you what we're going to be doing. So we're going to be, oh sorry, did someone say something? Nope, perfect. All right. So what we're going to be doing is holding onto the band so that it's at shoulder height and then pulling it upwards from there, okay? So when we tie it off, you want it to be so that as we apply tension, it's still, so see how it's level to my hand here. Okay, so I'm actually change my angle. Can you guys see this okay? Yeah? Alright, beautiful. So we're going to apply some tension. Okay, so pulling it back, and then this band's actually a little bit on the tight side, so I'm going to release one end of mine and just use the other end. So I'm just holding on to the spare end. Alright, so from here, our arm is parallel to the floor at 90 degrees, and then we're going to raise it up so that then it's 90 degrees the opposite direction. So I'll show you this way for starters. Off odd angle to the pole, but I just might show you a bit more. Go down and up. I like to think like, bring in the house down. Such a dork, I'm sorry. Alright, so same thing when we're doing these, keeping your ribs down. Okay, so we're not arching our back like this. Alright, and we're trying to keep our elbow really still. Okay, so it's not sort of moving around the place. So again, about 8 to 10 on one side, and then we're going to swap sides and do it on the other arm. Okay. Let me have a look. Now, if it's too tight for you, so like I did, you can release the band, you can grab the band with a little bit less resistance, or just go for a partial range, but make sure that this arm, imagine it's in a cast, okay? So your elbow's in a cast, you can't move that, so you want that to keep really still. So if the band's a bit too tight, you can only go to say here. That's better than kind of moving the arm around in an effort to get it all the way up. Does that make sense? Beautiful. That's it. Good. Maybe just don't go quite as far, Sarah. So if you're sort of, like if the band's quite tight, just to explain it, and you're sort of really trying to struggle to get it up, what will happen is your lat muscle down the side here is going to start to try to compensate, okay, to help it get up there. And that's going to then take away from the strengthening we're trying to do through our rotator cuff muscles. So we just want to be mindful that we're really just trying to keep it, hang on, it's the back of it so both cameras can see. So keep everything really still apart from the forearm that's rotating, as opposed to starting to use this lat. Beautiful. Good job, good job. Excellent. So about 8 to 10 again, and then you can have a rest. Beautiful. Alrighty. Okay, now this next exercise is called draw a sword. Now, depending on your band, you can kneel on it, or you can sit on it, or if you've got a really long band, you can also do it in standing. So I'm going to do it in kneeling, okay, and just kneeling or standing, whatever, on towards one end of it. Okay, we're then going to grab the other end, sorry, I should say, and we're going to take a hold of it across our hip as if you've got a sword that's in, it's the scabbard, is that what it's called? It's in there, okay? Now, in terms of where to hold it and how much tension to have, it's going to depend on the band that you have. So sometimes when you start this exercise, you might have to readjust after the first one. It's a bit hard if you have an exact judgment if everyone's got sort of a different tension on it, okay? But you do want there to be a little bit of slack, okay, between your hand and what's underneath you. So starting with the sword in its scabbard, I'm just going to go with that word, I don't know if that's correct, but anyway. So from there, we're going to lift the elbow up to shoulder height. Then we're going to extend the hand, bringing the palm facing forward, again at shoulder height. And then we're going to bring the elbow back in and down. So elbow up, shoulder height, extend palm forwards. Keep the elbow lifted as the hand returns and back down again. All right, again, we're doing 8 to 10. That's it, keeping everything really still. Again, keep those ribs down so that we're not trying to arch our back as we do this exercise. Okay, beautiful. That's it, keeping the elbow nice and lifted as the arm comes back in and down. So leading with the elbow, and then the elbow is the last thing that moves on the way back down as well. Beautiful, so 8 to 10 on that arm, and then switching to the other side as well. Beautiful. So yes, anyone watching back, if you've got sore bad knees, you can't kneel, you can just sit on your bum with the band underneath you, or like I said, if it's long enough, you can actually stand up on it as well. Beautiful, good job. Okay, so these muscles are really working our rotator cuff muscles so that they can help support and stabilize our shoulder when it's in the position for our ragdoll. So we're building that shoulder stability, and these exercises are not just great for ragdoll, they are fantastic for countless other pole moves. Okay, they're really good ones to incorporate into your regular training regime. Beautiful, swapping sides if you haven't already. And doing 8 to 10 on the opposite side. So starting with it down in your pocket, then we bring the elbow up, extend palm facing forwards, bring the hand back in, elbow back down. That's it, beautiful job. Good, and as we extend, just try to fold the arm out, hand forwards. Good. So try to, as you extend that arm, take it straight out to the side as opposed to sort of having this kind of upward rainbow action. So just kind of straight out to the side there. Good. Excellent. 8 to 10 of that as well. And then we'll move on. Beautiful. Excellent. All right. So now we're just going to do a couple of shoulder exercises now to work on that flexion of the shoulders. So this is actually shoulder flexion because this is extension of the shoulder, which I know is confusing for some people. But like I said, in our ragdoll, we can often come into this kind of hyperflexed position. So we're going to just work on our strength and mobility in that range. So we've got two different options, okay? The first is in a quadruped position, so on all fours, hands under arms, shoulders, knees under hips. The second option is to come down to a child's pose, and that option is slightly harder. Okay, so you can play with the quadruped and then see how you go if you want to make it a little bit harder. But what we're going to do from here, we're going to raise one arm up overhead, and then from there we're going to try to lift it up past the headline. It's quite difficult to do. Okay, so trying to lift it up past the headline. Now make sure that you're keeping your ribs down again towards the hips so that we don't start trying to use the back. Okay, we're not booty popping in this one. All right, so keeping the ribs down. And if you're in a child's pose position, I actually personally do prefer the child's pose a little bit because it gives you a bit more feedback. You can feel the clearance a little bit more than you can in quadruped. Here you can kind of be like, oh, how high is it getting? Whereas down here it's quite easy to see. All right, so 8 to 10 on each side. That's it. So swapping sides, I think by now you probably would have done about that. So ribs down, that's it. Good job. Trying to keep the neck nice and neutral, so just eye line on the floor. Beautiful, good job. That's it. All right, then we're going to take it up a notch. We're going to do the same thing, but now we're going to take our arm into an externally rotated position. So we're going to turn the palm upwards. Okay, so whichever position you're in then, same thing, but this time palm upwards. And again, we're trying to lift and lower the hand, or child's pose is here. Okay, so that's it. Palm up is the only difference. Ow, me. Oh. That's it. Again, 8 to 10 on either side. Good, ribs down. Beautiful. Great. A little bit harder this way, isn't it? Yeah? And sometimes, you know, you might find it difficult to get the palm all the way to the ceiling. That's okay. Just work within your range. So if you're sort of only at about this angle, you're still, for you, that's still externally rotated. So for you, it is still externally rotated. So just work within your means. But ultimately the aim is to be able to get palm facing towards the ceiling. Beautiful. All right, so now that our shoulders are nice and warm, we're going to move down to our core. So there's a couple of things that our core has to do in a ragdoll. The first is that it works with the legs to really try to lift the hips and legs. So as your legs are coming towards your head, you're also trying to really crunch and bring your pubic bone towards your belly button. So there is that side of it. There is also a rotation that happens, and we will talk about this a little bit more on the pole later, but as we're going into the ragdoll, we're really rotating to inwards and then we're rotating outwards. Okay, so our obliques have a fair bit of work to do as well. So now we're going to do a couple of exercises to work on that. But first of all, I just want to go over how to engage your core properly, because I find a lot of people don't do this well. So I want you to lay on your back. All right. And I want you to imagine a T on the front of your pelvis, okay? So we have a horizontal line running from hip bone to hip bone, and a vertical line is running from your pubic bone up to meet that horizontal line, forming a T. So that vertical line represents your pelvic floor. So we're thinking about trying to draw that up as if you're trying to stop yourself from going to the toilet. The horizontal line represents our deepest abdominal muscle, our transversus abdominis. And we want to think, there's a couple of ways you can explain this. You want to think like you were trying to do up a button on a pair of jeans, so you're trying to sort of draw everything in to do up that button without sort of like sucking in and flaring the ribs, so it's sort of a drawing in sensation. Or alternatively, you can think like a little hook just coming in underneath that line and gently pulling it into the floor. Okay, so we're drawing up our pelvic floor and then we're drawing that line in as well. Okay, so that together, forming a T, I'll refer to as your T-zone, as a quick cue to sort of, all right, turn that on. All right, so we're going to, let me see, all right. So I just want you to really focus on those muscles as we are doing these next few exercises, okay? So we're gonna start laying on our back, and we're just gonna start with a very simple crunch exercise just to kind of warm everything up and get our brain talking to our core, okay? So we're laying on our back, just neutral spine. As you're sort of laying there, you've got a natural little gap there. Hands behind our ears, forehead, both your elbows nice and wide. Engage that T-zone, so pelvic floor on, deep abdominal muscles on, and then we're going to think about drawing the ribs down to the hips as we curl the body up and lowering back down again. So curling up and back down, keeping those elbows nice and wide. We're just doing a few of these to warm the core up before we get into some harder exercises, but I just want you to really focus on engaging that T-zone. Okay, the belly should be sort of drawing in as opposed to pushing out and doming. That's it. Good job. Beautiful. Ribs to hips, T-zone tight. Just really think about connecting to those muscles, and we're just warming it up. Beautiful. Excellent. All right, for those that want to challenge, you can take that straight up into a tabletop position. So for that, we move to an imprinted spine, which is where you think like you've got a balloon underneath your back and you're just trying to sort of push it in, squash that into the floor a little bit. And legs in tabletop, so they're at 90 degrees, shins parallel to the floor, and then same thing, okay? If this is too hard though, you can pop your feet back down on the floor. This is just an added option to make it a little bit harder. Beautiful, and again, we're warming up, but we're also still really working that rib to hip connection, which we're going to need in our ragdoll. Beautiful. Excellent. Good job. We're going to do 3 more. 3, 2, and 1. Excellent. Alrighty, Now we're going to move into an exercise that's called hundreds. A lot of people hate this exercise, but I love it. And it's really good for what we're about to do. I will give you a few options. So, basically what's going to happen is we're going to be maintaining this curled up position and pulsing the arms up and down. Now, easiest option is to have the knees on the floor. All right, the next option is that tabletop position like we just spoke about. And then the next one after that is, legs straight, toes pointed towards the ceiling. This is ultimately the best position to be in for ragdolls, because when we do our ragdolls, we've got our legs moving closer to our head as we're really trying to draw our ribs to the hips, but it may be difficult for some people, so you can start with one of the easier options with an end goal to get to the straight legs. Okay, so pick a level, and we're going to be bouncing the arms up and down for around about 100 beats. Okay, give or take. It's a bit hard to keep count of it as you're talking. All right, so now imprint that. If your legs are in the air, we're going to imprint the spine. If your feet are staying on the floor, you can keep it nice and neutral. All right, so pick an option that's available to you. All right, we're going to curl the body up, keep that T-zone tight, and we're going to start pulsing the arms up and down. So inhale, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4. That's to keep you breathing. Keep breathing. That's it. And pulsing the arms up and down. Reach through the fingertips. That's it. Good job. Beautiful. Excellent. If at any stage that level gets too hard for you, lower it back a level. I ultimately prefer people to keep the technique up as opposed to trying to achieve the number all the time, okay? It's always best to think about quality first, quality of your movement. Beautiful. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Ribs to hips. That's it. Beautiful job. You're doing really well. Excellent. 3, 4, and exhale. That's it. Beautiful. Good job. Eyes on your knees. Reach through the fingertips. Keep those ribs drawing down to the hips. Doing really well. We've got about 5 more seconds to go. 4, 3, 2, 1, and lowering back down again, popping your feet on the floor. Good. So it's quite a tricky exercise, and I know that when we're doing our ragdoll, you're not going to be holding it in that sustained position, but that's just a really good exercise to strengthen that flexion through your trunk, okay, with that rib to hip connection. So it's just really good for strengthening that area. All right. So grab a quick drink if you need one. The next exercise we're going to do is called pendulum, and this is going to really start to work that rotation that I talked about that we're going to be using on the pole. Okay, so we're going to lay on our back. We're going to imprint the spine, legs in tabletop with the knees and ankles squeezing together. Arms out to the side, palms facing up. Okay, I'm actually just going to change positions now so you can get a better idea. And what we're going to do then is we're going to lower the legs over to one side. So one hip lifts and we're twisting through our spine, and then we're bringing it back to center. Then we switch sides and come back. Now, one thing I really want you to pay attention to, and I might come a bit closer so you can see. Everyone can see my knees? Okay. So what happens a lot of the time when people do this is that as they go over, see my top leg is shorter than my bottom leg. So we actually want to make sure we're really lifted through that hip so that our knees stay together. So be very mindful of that, and also make sure, put it this way, that we're not sort of pulling our knees towards the hips. They stay over the top of the hips. Okay, so let's do this. Pendulum exercise. Alrighty, so palms out towards the ceiling. Okay, and rotating over to one side. T-zone tight, draw it back to the center. Other side. Keeping those knees together and back. Beautiful, we're gonna do this for about a minute. Let me have a look. Beautiful, keep those knees over the top of your hips, just back a little bit further from your face, Vanessa, if it feels comfortable. I know sometimes post-birth, that can be a tricky thing to do, so just work within your means. Beautiful. That's it. Only go as far as you can control the movement. I'll show you some other options soon to make it harder if you want. Great, so this is fantastic for that rotation that we're going to be using when we're on the pole. Beautiful. Excellent. And we're going to do one more on each side. And then you can lower your feet back down and rest. Beautiful. Now, I have to be mindful of time, so I'm just going to quickly show you the harder options from there if you wish to later on go and work on the progressions for that exercise. So the next option from there is that as we go over to one side, we're going to straighten the top leg and then bring it back to center, lower back down, then switching sides, straighten the leg, back to center, lower back down. The next step after that is that as we go over to the side, we straighten both legs, bring it back to center and down. Other side, straighten both legs, back to center and down. Okay, so that's just to give you an idea, but we won't have time to sort of go through them today, but I just wanted to sort of just give you the progressions on where to go. All right. Now we're going to come down to our hips, because that's quite the obvious one that has to work. All right, our hip flexors have to work hard to be able to really kick our legs up towards our head. Okay, so we're going to lay down on our elbows. All right, so forearms on the floor, pushing our chest up nice and tall, feet flat on the floor with the knees bent. Perfect. Extend one leg. Beautiful. Now we're going to do little bicycle legs. So the straight leg is going to draw up towards you, knee towards your face, extend the leg and lower it back down. Good. And bring it in, extend and lower back down again. So just nice, gentle pedaling. That's it. Beautiful. And now we're going to add a little extra movement on. So when you straighten the leg, we're then going to take it out to the side towards your shoulder so it's in more of a straddle position, back to the center, bend and lower it back down. I'll just shift directions here so you can see. So go bend up, extend, out into a straddle, up, bend and down. Good. And the aim of this is to really try to keep that leg squeezing as close to your head as you can when it's straight. Okay? Beautiful. So a couple more pedals. Up, open, up, bend, and down. Beautiful. If you want to make it a little bit harder again, we can now kick it up straight. Straddle, up, and down. Good. So up, straddle to your face, and down. Beautiful. Good job. 3 more. Good. Beautiful. And down. And once you've done your 3, we're then going to swap sides. Okay. So just start the movement going through on our elbows, chest pressed up, pedaling the legs. So draw your knee into your chest, extend, knee, and down. Good. Down, up. Extend and down. And then when you're ready to add on, we extend to the straddle, to the stop, and down. Whoops, I forgot to bend the other leg then. Very good. You guys didn't, you guys are good. Beautiful. And then, like I said, if we want to make it harder again, we kick it up straight, out, up, and straight down. Beautiful. You're warming those legs up. Keep that chest lifted so your spine is nice and straight and we're not hunched. Beautiful. 3 more. So for those operating at home, again, I try to stick with all exercises around that kind of 8 to 10 mark, but if you feel like you want to do more, absolutely you can do more. Okay. Beautiful. I should also say, whenever I give numbers for exercises, it's generally an up to. So I always say to people, if your quality is diminishing, just go to whatever you can. And if that's 3, that's fine. But I would prefer it to be 3 with really good technique than 8 with sloppy technique. Okay, it's much better for your body for it to be done properly. All right, now we're gonna do some leg lifts, everyone's favorite. So come into a straddle position, but not your widest straddle, okay? So this is not about flexibility just yet. So just bring them in a little bit. Okay, now we're gonna turn towards one leg and place a hand either side. Okay, now harder is with your hands further away, easier is with your hands closer towards your body, okay? Pressing through the fingertips, we're going to lift that leg up and down. Now 8 will be a bit extreme for a lot of people in this position, and you're probably going to get a little bit of cramping through your quad here, so give it a massage and just sort of release the leg if that happens. So again, it's up to 8, and if that's 3, fine, okay? Just work within your means, okay? So we're lifting and lowering. Beautiful, that's it. And massaging it out if you get a bit of a cramp, it's quite normal. Okay, so we're going to do one leg and then switch to the other. Beautiful, I'm just going to come a bit closer so I can see. Oh, my eyes can't see that well from back there. Beautiful. That's the whole dilemma I have whenever I do these. It's getting far enough back that I can get in frame, but then I can't actually see everyone that well from that far. Beautiful. Gorgeous. Beautiful. Excellent. And once you've done both legs, then we're going to do some in the center. Okay, so fingers in the middle, up on the fingertips, pressing into the floor, and we're going to raise both legs up and down. That's it. Beautiful. Good job. And again, it's up to 8. If you only get 3, that's okay. All right, for a lot of people, this exercise is quite difficult, so you may only get a couple in, and that's to be expected. Okay, beautiful. Excellent. All right, on my third time, we did start a few minutes late, so we're going to see if anyone else would join, so I'll allow for that. All right, we're just going to do a little bit of stretching now through our straddle, because the wider we can get our straddle and the more like flexibility that we have in terms of bringing our legs towards our face, the better our ragdoll is going to be. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of a stretch to start with. So legs nice and wide, and we want to have a nice straight back. Now for people who can't do that, grab something, so a block, if that's too big, a book, or even a folded up towel, and place it underneath your bottom, which will just sort of elevate you up so that you can keep that straight back, okay? So just something to kind of prop your bum up. All right, so nice straight back, hands in front if you can, and then we're just going to move between a curved position, all right, so our pubic bones facing forwards, and then we're going to shoot it to the floor, so leading through the chest. All right, so rocking back and forwards. Tilting the pelvis under, popping the booty out. Tilting under, popping the booty out. Beautiful. Excellent. 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. All right. Now staying in our straddle, we're going to come into a little side stretch. So I want you to place one hand across the body towards the opposite thigh. Take the other hand up towards the ceiling. Think about turning your chest ever so slightly towards the far leg, and then we're reaching out over the straight leg. Now as you do this, make sure this hip doesn't start to lift up. All right, so keep it pressed into the floor, reaching for the far wall. You should feel a nice little stretch up your side. Okay, beautiful. We're gonna hold this position for a few breaths. And if you're watching this video back later or doing these exercises later, you can hold these moves for a little bit longer, as long as you feel you want to. Beautiful. Coming up and switching sides. Pressing hand over, hand towards the ear, turning slightly towards that leg, and reaching out over the other. Good. Hip down, don't let it sort of raise up, so you shouldn't be able to see any sky underneath this leg. Booty on the ground. All right. Ooh, foot cramp. Oh, here we go. And breathe. Good, and coming back up again. All right, so still staying in our straddle now. Hands in front, and we're gonna just do little circles down. So we're starting towards one leg, bending the arms, and coming back up the other side. Good. That's it. Now try and keep your knees facing towards the ceiling. And as you're moving, if you can take it a little bit lower and lower, you can do that. Okay. Beautiful. Excellent. If that's enough for you, stay there. For those that want the extra challenge, you can start to walk your hands out towards your foot, and then we're sort of walking our hands out in a far circle, so we're reaching for the far wall as we walk around to the other foot. And then walking back, really trying to reach out towards the wall as we come back around. So at all times we're really trying to keep that nice straight back. If that's too much for you, stay with our little circles here. Okay, and if that's too much for you, you can just hold that straddle position if you've got something underneath your bum. Okay, and you can just kind of rock side to side. Beautiful. Excellent, good job. And now we're just going to sort of hold the forward stretch position. So it'll look different for different people. For some of you, it'll just be either hands in front or back, just trying to push your belly button towards the floor. And if that's you, that's wonderful, stay there. For everyone else, then you can just start to walk your hands further out, maintaining a straight back, stopping when it gets to your limit. Okay, really try and keep those knees facing towards the ceiling. Beautiful. And we're going to hold this for 3 deep breaths. Beautiful. And walk it back in again. Excellent. Bring those legs in. And you can give the hips a little bit of a wiggle side to side to release them. Okay. Now, before we jump up to the pole, we're just going to do a couple of quick exercises to bring the core and the legs together. Okay. So the first one is called teaser prep. Okay. So we're going to start with our hands behind you, fingers facing away from your bottom. Really trying to keep that chest nice and open with your back straight, so don't sort of hunch back like this. Okay, so we're going to keep that chest lifted. Knees are bent, feet together in front of you. Now what we're going to try to do, sorry, I've got a calf cramp. So, easier option is that we're really going to try and draw our knees, cramps, our ribs to our hips, don't mind me, to lift the feet off the floor. If it's available to you, I want you to also straighten the legs and then open to straddle. Back in and down. So, easiest option for those that are struggling a little bit, so it's just feet up and down. Then, next step is to go feet up, hike, down to the floor, so bend and down. Then the third option is to go feet lift, hike, straddle, hike, bend and down. And the number is 8. Okay, so easiest option, just straight up and down. Next option is to bring it into a pike. Third option is to go from your pike out and back. I should show it the other way, shouldn't I? Come here, up, first option. Second option. And third option. Beautiful. And down. And when we're doing the pike and the straddle, really try to squeeze your feet towards you as much as you can. Beautiful. Excellent. Beautiful. And once you've done your 8, you can have a little rest. Beautiful. All right. Beautiful. Well, let's now start to get into some of the technical side of our ragdoll. So I just want to talk through a couple of things first. There's 2 predominant types of ragdolls. So the first one is more of a flare. So the legs are very circular and go like this. The second option is where you really see it go bang and down. Now we're going to start with working on the flare because that's a lot gentler on the body, because it doesn't have that as much of a dynamic kind of jolt through the body. It's a lot kinder on the shoulders, and it's the one that you should really start with and master that before you go trying to do the really dramatic one. Okay, now we'll talk through a couple of things. So you want to have a really strong coil spin or reverse grab spin before you try Ragdoll. And as I mentioned at the start, when we come up to hold onto the pole, you want there to be a slight external rotation through your shoulders. So like you're sort of screwing a light bulb in. Okay, so that'll just mean that our shoulder is stabilized and working with us. Sorry, moving a couple of things out of the way. All right, so we're coming up to the pole and we have that slight external rotation through the shoulder. Now I always like to start with some little air runs. Okay, so as we're doing these, just like the coil spin, you want to imagine there is a circle around the base of your pole, okay, and you have to keep your hips and your feet out in that circle. Inside is lava, okay? So you come up to the pole, I like to come onto my toes so that I'm already sort of engaged, and we'll sort of start by just walking that circle, and then we're going to just start to get a little bit of momentum behind it. Okay, so we're running, really imagine that circle, we're running around that track. Okay, now I actually just do a couple of spins usually to get the pole nice and warm for my hand grip, because you do need really good hand grip for a Ragdoll. So one good way to get the pole nice and warm is to just do these air runs and then pick it up and come into a little one arm chair spin. It'll just get the pole nice and warm so that it gets grippier. So a lot of friction on the pole helps to warm it up. Okay, so I'm not going to spend too much time breaking down the side of it because I think coil spin was listed as a prerequisite. And if you have any difficulties with this, I suggest you go back and watch Carly Hunter's coil spin tutorial, where she will really break that down, because that's really it is a heavy prerequisite for a Ragdoll. Okay, but let's just focus now on the actual mechanics of the Ragdoll component. Okay, so when we come into the Ragdoll part, we are going to do a little kind of, it's the reverse of a fan, it's a flare. So let's practice that in a, what do you call this position? Like, you know, your standard wrap grip. All right, so like you're gonna do a fan kick. So inside hand wrapped in the bicep, outside hand on top. Outside leg is going to lead, so it's the opposite from a fan, okay? And I'm going to kick it across my body this way, and then it's going to open up, and then I'm going to turn back the other way and down. Okay? Now, we can bring that down to the floor also, just to have a look and explain, because it's something I really want you to be mindful of. So, when we do this, I really want you to make sure that as you take the leg across the body, your hips are turned with it. We open to our straddle, hips are neutral. Then as we come back, it's rotating the other way. So what a lot of people get stuck with, they might start all well and good, but from here, we just drop straight down. So you really want to make sure that you keep your hips turning the opposite direction. All right? So we go. Scissor the legs in the direction you're moving. Open to our straddle. Scissor them the opposite way and back. Okay? So you can practice that on the floor first, and then you can bring it into this position on the pole. So from here, I'm turning into the pole, I'm opening out, and then I'm turning away. Sorry, I realized I was rotating. I was trying to pull myself back around to the camera at the end there. So really trying to rotate the hips back around as we come down. Does that make sense? Oh, Vanessa just lost connection. That's okay, she will get the recording at the end. She might join us back in a second anyway. Beautiful. Okay, so just having a look at that. So you're leading with the outside leg. Outside leg goes across your body, open, and then turn the hips back around. That's it, beautiful. So it's the opposite to a fan kick, which leads with the other leg, yeah? Beautiful. Excellent, good job. Both sides, so let's do 3 on each side as a good little warm up. So if we switch to the other side of the pole, again it's went the other way then. I went to do a fan kick. It's outside leg crosses your body in towards the pole first. Okay, so towards the pole, outside leg, and it's going to come over. Okay, beautiful. Excellent. Beautiful. Oh, cool. Oh, she's back. Here's Vanessa. Okay. There we go. No, that's okay. That's okay. You'll get the recording back. That's all right. I thought so. It'd be fine. So we're just doing the fans, 3 on each side. And then we're going to have a quick pause, because one thing I forgot to do before that is some kicks. Okay, so we'll just really quickly do these because I am conscious of time again. Really bad at going over time. So it's also useful to do kicks with these because that will work that dynamic strength at getting the leg up. So starting on whichever side of the pole, it doesn't really matter. And what we're trying to do as we kick is go fast up, slow down. Now, as you kick, keep the back nice and straight. We don't want to be doing this. Even though when we're doing the ragdoll, we will be crunching up, that's a crunch up as opposed to here where people sort of, that's more about a mobility thing. All right, so fast up, slow down. We have 8 kicks to the front, and then we have a turned out position. Now when we do a turned out, it's out to the side, but it's not straight out, it's slightly in front. So what a lot of people do when they do these is they kind of go straight out to the side, but because they're limited, it ends up being like knee forward. So when you're doing these, switch sides, you want to turn the leg out, knee to the ceiling, and we kick slightly in front. Again, fast up, slow down. And my phone's just done something. Sarah asked us the leg kick at a 45-degree angle. It'll ultimately depend on your flexibility. So as close to the side as you can get, but for a lot of people, it will be closer to the 45-degree mark. But what I just want you to mainly focus on is that knee facing up towards the ceiling and not sort of rotating to the front of the room. Okay? So we're sort of keeping that external rotation through the hip. That's it. So 8 kicks to the front, 8 kicks to the side, both legs. Beautiful. Good job. Fast up, slow down. So that fast up is going to work that explosive power that you need in a ragdoll to sort of generate that flow. Wonderful. Good job. Beautiful. You're doing that. I'm leaving my pole light. And slightly re-angle my camera. Okay. Alrighty. So remembering those flares that we did before, okay? So let's start to put that into the ragdoll. So we're going to start with our little walk around the pole like a coil stick. Now when we take off into our ragdoll, we're taking off the inside leg so that outside leg can come across our body to start that flare like we did in close to the pole. Now make sure when you take off that you haven't forgotten about your circle. So a lot of people think too much about the next part and getting tight, and they step in really close to the pole. But we really want to keep that kind of circle motion going. So make sure that we're stepping out in our circle. Okay, so generally about in line with the pole and out to the side. Okay, so let me just show you first of all, and then if we need to, we can talk some more. Okay, so around. Look, hang on. I have terrible hand grip. Believe it or not. So, and I haven't got the pole as warm as I would normally like before doing this, but that's okay. Alright. Around. And down. Now I didn't talk about this hand for a second, but that's alright. So, as I took off, outside leg, I'm drawing down through that shoulder, I'm keeping that external rotation. This leg comes across, so I'm turning the hips in towards the pole. Then as I open into the straddle, I'm crunching down. So all that flexion that we worked through our core earlier. And then I'm finishing with that rotation on the other side. Okay? Now, once our hips clear the pole, so we've gone open and we're coming back, that's when we can find the pole with this bottom hand. I say can because sometimes you might do it where you don't want to actually sort of touch the pole behind, but in most instances, you'll be reaching behind you so that you can either come into a similar sort of exit to your coil spin. Okay? So let's try it one more time. Well, I'll show you one more time. So we're going to start with the little air walk. And then cross, crunch, over. I didn't do the hand there because I was too busy talking about this. Please go ahead and put the hand behind. Let me do it again without pointing as much so I can show you that hand. Okay, so I'm going to start with my air walk. And open and look. See how I sort of grab in a reverse grip, finger pointed down. Okay. Good, Vanessa. That's it. Good job. We have a quick squeeze. Good. Oh. Did you just kick the wall, Sarah? Oh no, yes, be very mindful of obstacles around you when you do this trick, particularly if you've got long legs. Okay. Sorry, Sarah, I'll unmute you, Sarah. What were you saying? Oh, okay. You did hit the wall? Yeah. Yeah, so you might, if you're a bit limited with your space, you might, like, do you also have a studio that you go to? So yeah, you might just have to sort of take note of the things and then actually try it at the studio. Probably don't really want you to risk breaking a toe, you know? So, just mainly, yeah, take some notes, and then when you're back in the studio, yeah, beautiful, you can give it a proper try then. And same goes for anyone watching back at home. If, you know, you're not in an ideal space, please don't risk it. Just wait until you are in an ideal space. Good. Just watch Vanessa. You're sort of doing a little bit of like a lead with a arched back, and that can kind of cause this sort of like effect. Does that make? Can you see that? Sorry, I did that. So when you're taking off, you're sort of coming from a real arched position, which means that you're getting this kind of like thrusting kind of movement, but it's not ideal for the body. So instead, try to keep your core really engaged, and instead, so we're keeping our chest lifted, and you're thinking about leaping with the rotation sort of inwards, so the leg is doing the work. Grip, hand grip, yeah. Perfect. Okay. So whenever we're training these, do train both sides, as goes without saying. Better, that's better. Yes. Very good. So both sides. And as you sort of keep working on it, really focusing on trying to, like the teaser, so this is, we're really trying to squeeze our feet towards our face as much as possible. Obviously, for some people, you're going to be limited by your flexibility, so work within that realm. But what I want you to think about is really keeping that tension on, so that you're not like sort of being lazy, so to speak. You really want to try and squeeze those legs towards your face, which is both your hip flexors working to form there, but also this crunching action, which will help get your hips
higher. Okay, so if we're to do it without the core, you'll sort of freeze it. You'll always kind of be in this realm. Don't worry what my hands are doing, I'm just sort of doing that so I can show you in a static position, okay? So if you don't involve the core, depending on how strong your hip flexors will be, your height will be limited, okay? So instead, we're going to look at crunching hips up towards the ribs, which will help get your hips away from the pole and a little bit higher. So different, go crunch, hips in close, legs are limited. Adding in the crunch, oh, that's really hard actually. Do it statically like that, but hopefully you can kind of see the difference. Okay. Good. So the only other thing from there, Vanessa, I'd like to see is just to kind of get out in your circle a little bit more. So, and that's just getting to set up so that we've got more distance between your body and the pole, and that will allow you to get a little bit more, height. Oh my God, I'm hard while I'm talking. So, height and flow. Okay, so you want to sort of have this kind of floating action as you go around, but for that you need to really better. Good. So just when you're doing your air runs though, they're a little up and down leafy. Just a little bit, like I'm nitpicking, okay? But I know that you are an ex-dancer and I know that you're probably as much of a perfectionist as I am. So I will nitpick a little bit, okay? But so instead of having that up and down motion, when you're doing a run, I want you to think forward. So see how my head stays well? I know I'm sliding down the pole a bit there, but you don't want to have that kind of up and down motion to it. So you think more away from the pole. Try and keep the tension away. Good. Oh, yeah. Look, I feels. I know what it's like. Yeah, that's better. Yep, good. Yeah. Then it's just the crunch. But my word, woman, you are doing fantastic. So this one is the flare one. So where you really turn in, and it's a little bit more what I call like the pretty one. The other one's like what you tend to do in a performance where there's like a big bang moment and you really want to kind of like, yeah, I'm here, okay? Now, the difference with that one, well, first of all, is you need to have a lot of that power through your legs to be able to really extend and pull them up towards your face quickly. So lots of kicks and also lots of shoulder work to really make sure that your shoulder is going to be able to take the power of that movement, okay? Now in terms of the cake, what happens is that instead of kind of really rotating into the pole, as we come up, you're thinking more crunching up, and then we extend the legs at the same time, okay? So instead of, as we're sort of floating around here at this one, and then we sort of turn in here, as our hips are low, and use the crunch to come up, we're kind of skimming that first part a little bit, okay? So what it'll mean, I'll try to step it through first, it's quite fast to do it, but as we take off, we're tucking the knees up towards the chest. You do have a little bit of a slight inwards rotation at the start just because of the circular motion you're spinning in, but it's not as rotated, okay? So we're thinking more about crunching the knees up, and so we're really trying to keep that core, and then we extend bang at the top, but we finish with the rotation, okay? So we finish by turning in, and what that's going to do is stop you from banging into the top. Because a lot of the time when you do the dynamic one, it does become slightly more pendulum than the other version. You don't want it to be a true pendulum. You still want it to be a little bit circular, but by the nature of you trying to make that bang, it will kind of skim the circle just a little bit. So by rotating the hips at the end, like in the version that we've tried just before, it will help to stop you from sort of banging back in, and it will help to sort of keep that circle going. Does that make sense? All right, now I'll see if I've got enough grip to do it. Ooh. Let me see. Anyone going to do these? I call it like the cat scratches. This is what I use when I've got sweaty hands and whatnot. So in between those two fingers, I just like a cat scratching, and it gives it just that friction on the pole just helps to kind of warm it up and make it a little bit grippy. But feel free to take that. Yeah. Like I said, I have really bad hand grip, so if you ever watch any of my routines, the hand grippy stuff is always first up. Always. Alright. So in this one, you can do the air walk. Me personally, I take them out because I'm focusing on more on a big moment, usually in a routine where I don't want to give away what's happening, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm still going to take off the inside leg. This time I'm going to punch up, bang, and down. Okay, so stepping same place, out, circle, knees in, crunching, grip, two, hips, get the hips up, away from the pole, extend, bang, legs pulling towards your head, finish the rotation to get your hips past the pole to head. Okay, I'll do it one more time, fast, and whoop, bang. Okay? Does that make sense, Vanessa? And Sarah? I know it's very hard to see fast, so if you have the video later, you might be able to sort of like pause and, yeah, 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 Vanessa! Very good. Yeah, crunch. So the crunching, that rib to hips, that's going to get the hips away from the pole. Okay? Mixed with, of course, a good setup. Making sure that your circle, your coil part, isn't in too close to the pole. Have a look. So external rotation through the shoulder, make sure it's stabilised. Hang on. Go again. One more and then we might have to sort of, I just realised the time. I just love teaching so much and I get carried away. Good. Your leg's just getting a little bit left behind, like it's dragging a little bit as you step into it. So really try to, as you take off, knees to chest as quick as you can. It's just sort of, as you take off, it's just a little bit, so I think you're sort of bleeding this way a little bit too much. So as you push off, you've still got to get all this way forward before that leg can leave the ground. Does that make sense? Instead, we want to take off a little, like you still want to have a bed leg quick push, but we don't want to be sort of arched as much. That's probably a better way of explaining it. 3 steps. So when you're sort of taking off, because you are coming to that arch position, and we have to come to a crunch, it's got all that time, that like all that work has to happen. It takes time, which kind of drags it out. So try as you take off to not cut the arch. Okay, so keep your ribs under so that you go straight into a crunch without that having to come from an arched position. Does that make sense? I lost my English really badly then. Stretch down. I'm sorry. That was a bit of a quick rush ending. Okay. So let's stretch those forearms out first of all. We don't have to do too much because we didn't do a whole of the pole at the end, but we'll just stretch. And we did a little bit of this stretching throughout straddle earlier, but we'll just stretch out our shoulders a little bit. Our straddle's got a bit of a stretch. So let's just do the top half of the body. Our wrist first, we're holding on for dear life, especially if you're like me and not grip very well. Good, and swapping. grip is the bane of my existence. This is why I like elbow grip so much. My hands are terrible. Yeah. Beautiful. All right, pole. Alrighty, pressing that forearm into the pole, taking a step forward. Just do a couple little stretches to finish off. Just a few. Beautiful, coming into a side stretch on that side. Pushing the hips away, keeping that arm in line with the ear. Beautiful, switching sides. And if you're watching this back, you can hold the stretch for a little bit longer. Alright. Good, side stretch. And release. And lock those fingers behind your body. Ultimately, palms together is great, but if you can't do that, separate that spine. Put those shoulders blades together and lifting them up high. And release, come to your pole, cup both hands around the pole, feet in nice and close, and then think about separating your shoulder blades. Sit back, push around, yep, fine. Good. Beautiful. Alrighty. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you got something out of it. And like I said, all these exercises work with not just ragdolls, but so many other components of pole, in particular your straddles and things like that, where you've got the legs doing a similar kind of movement, I guess. But yeah, if you want to take any videos and send them to me, more than happy to look over any footage, give some tips and whatnot. All right. Thanks, Sarah. Bye. 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 Bye.